Miss Rosa Parks, a 42-year-old woman, boarded a Montgomery City bus on December 1st, 1955. She sat down in the middle of the bus, a good distance away from the reserved seats for the whites. After all the seats on the bus had been filled up, a white man stepped aboard the bus. The bus driver ordered the blacks to move further back. They all obeyed except Rosa Parks, who stood her ground. She was then arrested and convicted for violating laws of segregation, also known as Jim Crow laws. Just 4 days after the arrest of Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech starting the Montgomery Bus Boycott on December 5, 1955. This was one of Martin Luther King's first major speeches. He presented his speech at Holt Street Baptist Church in Montgomery. In his speech, Martin Luther King urged people to stop riding the buses in Montgomery until the segregation discontinued. He had said, quote, "For many years now, Negroes in Montgomery and so many other areas have been inflicted with the paralysis of crippling fears on buses in our community. On so many occasions, Negroes have been intimidated and humiliated and oppressed because of the sheer fact that they were Negroes." Unquote. For too long, the blacks have lived where they're not treated fairly, one being on the buses. It's humiliating to them, and no one should have to live that way, especially not in a country where all men are created equal. Quote, "And I've come to see now that as we struggle for our rights, maybe some of them will have to die. But somebody said, if a man doesn't have something that he'll die for, he isn't fit to live." Unquote. So despite the fact that there will be many obstacles that they will have to face throughout their fight to racial justice, they are willing to put anything on the line for freedom. Martin Luther King explains how it's time to stop waiting for something to happen, and it's time for them to go make things happen themselves, starting with the Montgomery Bus Boycott. The Montgomery Bus Boycott was a 13-month protest, and it lasted 382 days. The group that coordinated it was the Montgomery Improvement Association, also known as the MIA, whom Martin Luther King was the president of. It was a nonviolent protest that challenged racial segregation on the buses. Blacks shouldn't have to pay in the front and enter through the back. They lived many years with this humiliation, and without the blacks riding the buses, the bus company would go bankrupt. On June 5, 1956, the federal court ruled that the segregation on the Montgomery buses was unconstitutional. Following that, on December 5, 1956, Martin Luther King called an end to the Montgomery Bus Boycott. The Montgomery Bus Boycott was one of the first steps to racial justice. Not only was it successful, but it also helped the blacks realize that they really can overcome racial segregation and gain freedom, even if it means giving their lives for it. They had faith, hope, and commitment to back them up throughout their fight, and it helped them achieve their goals. That's truly something we all should value and keep with us throughout our difficulties and troubles in life.